The photo came through while I was stopped at a red light on La Brea. I'd been reaching for my travel mug, lukewarm coffee, metallic aftertaste, when my phone buzzed on the console. No name. Just a number I didn't recognize. One image attached. I opened it without thinking. There she was, Emily, pressed against a man in a dark booth. Club lighting bled red across her bare shoulders. His hand was on her waist. Her lips were on his neck. The timestamp in the corner read 2:17 a.m. The car behind me honked. I didn't move. My heart didn't race. It paused. Like a skipped track. The light turned green. I drove on autopilot, the image burned into my brain more vividly than the road. Each breath felt too tight in my chest, like I'd forgotten how to inhale through shock. The low hum of traffic blurred into static as I pulled into the garage at work. I stared at the steering wheel. The same way I'd stared at her the night we argued. That fight had felt small at first. Something about the dishes. About how I always remind, and you never listen. But like all our recent arguments, it spiraled quickly. She needed a break, she said. Needed to feel something besides domestic repetition. She called her friends. Said she'd be out late. I hadn't stopped her. But I didn't expect to be handed photographic proof of what out late meant. The broken phone charger she always took from my car, claiming hers didn't work, lay coiled on the passenger seat beside me. She hadn't even brought it back. I picked it up, rolling the frayed edge between my thumb and forefinger, the plastic peeling like a metaphor I didn't want to read into. Was it a one-time mistake? Some drunken lapse after too many vodka sodas and bass drops? Or had it been brewing longer, like a track she kept playing on repeat behind my back? The notification sat below the image, thought you should know. A friend. No signature. No follow-up. Just static. At work, I moved through the morning like I was ghosting my own life. Emails, meetings, polite nods. Nobody saw anything different. But inside, I was charting fault lines. By noon, I'd already remembered the name she'd casually dropped weeks ago, DJ Micah. He spins at The Verge, apparently. I'd pretended not to care then. I regretted that now. I checked our shared bank statements. There it was. A $73 charge at The Verge. 2 weeks ago. A Thursday night, she'd said she was just venting with the girls. And again 3 nights later. Same place. Different tab. I clicked back further. Lyft receipts. 1:50 a.m. pickups. She'd never told me she was out that late. I hadn't been looking before. Now I was wide awake. I called no one. Said nothing. The need to scream curled itself into something colder, something sharper. I would not be blindsided again. I would not ask questions she could lie through. I'd get answers without her help. On the way home, I passed The Verge. I didn't stop. Just watched as 2 staffers wheeled out cases of audio equipment through the back alley. Emily texted that night like nothing happened, "Do you want me to pick up anything from Trader Joe's?" I stared at it for a long time. Then I wrote back, "No. We're fine." We. Not I. Because I had someone else to think about, our daughter, Ava, 5 years old, a light too bright to dim with betrayal. I looked at the photo one more time. Then I saved it to a hidden folder titled Baseline. Because this was the point everything changed. And I was going to rebuild, beat by beat. There was a time when Emily and I were the kind of couple other people envied. Our apartment was small but sun-drenched, perched just off the 606 trail in Chicago. We'd wake up on Sundays, walk to the corner bakery for cardamom buns, then spend the afternoon on the couch, her head on my lap, some true crime documentary humming in the background. She used to trace her finger along my arm absently, not even realizing she was doing it. Ava was born during one of those golden phases. We had matching coffee mugs made that said Mama Bear and Papa Bear. I can still remember the baby socks lined up like soldiers on the dresser, the way she smiled when she saw Ava take her first wobbly steps from couch to coffee table. But even then, if I'm being honest, the edges were starting to fray. She grew restless after the maternity leave ended. "I love Ava," she'd say, but I feel like I lost me somewhere in the middle of all this. I encouraged her to take time for herself, join that pottery class, go on book club nights, meet her friends for drinks. I thought I was being supportive. But freedom, once tasted, becomes addictive when what's waiting at home feels too much like routine. She started going out more often. Just the girls, she'd say, leaning into the mirror to fix her eyeliner. I'd be wrangling Ava into pajamas or cleaning up bath toys while she chose between heels. At first, I didn't question it. Then came the little inconsistencies. One night she said they'd been to a wine bar in Logan Square. But her receipt, left on the kitchen counter, was from The Verge, that loud downtown spot with a reputation for late sets and strong drinks. I asked about it casually. She brushed it off. "Oh, we ended up there for one drink. Didn't stay long. Too noisy." I let it go. The next time, she wore a dress I hadn't seen since our honeymoon in Puerto Vallarta. Tight black satin. Not the kind you wear when you're just venting about life with girlfriends. When she came home, I noticed a faint smudge of glitter near her collarbone. Not from makeup. From someone else's shirt, maybe. Still, I said nothing. I chalked it up to overthinking. But the seed was planted. I started to notice how quickly she silenced her phone when I walked in. How she angled the screen away. One night, I caught a glimpse of a message notification. "Last night was wildfire," from a contact labeled MJ Beats. I asked who it was. She looked up, too fast, then laughed. "Oh, it's just a playlist someone made for the bar." I nodded like I believed her. But that night, when she fell asleep on the couch, I opened her laptop. She never logged out of Messenger. The messages weren't overt. Nothing explicit. Just a tone. A cadence. "You looked tense earlier, hope the mix helped. Same spot Friday. Can't stop thinking about your eyes under those lights." I took screenshots. Saved them to a flash drive labeled taxes. From there, it snowballed. Every small lie confirmed the bigger one. I checked our joint credit card. Weekly charges at The Verge. More Lyft rides to downtown. Even a hotel charge, the Shoreline Inn, on a night she told me she stayed with Claire after karaoke. I didn't confront her. I cataloged. I created a private email address. Forwarded myself copies of anything relevant. Phone logs, timestamps, receipts. I asked Claire, indirectly, how karaoke night went. She hesitated. "Oh, it was okay. Kind of last minute. Emily didn't make it, though." I nodded. Right. One night, while Ava was at her grandmother's, I picked up Emily's phone while she was in the shower. I knew her passcode. Same one she'd always used, our anniversary date. I didn't have long. Inside her messages, I found a deleted thread. But some cloud sync glitch had saved fragments. Enough to fill in the blanks. "Don't tell anyone about the hotel. He's been weird lately. You said it was a one-time thing. That was 3 weeks ago. He's still the father of my kid. I just need space, not guilt." Each word was a small incision. But I didn't let it bleed. Instead, I copied. Archived. Moved everything to that same flash drive. And I made a list. Not a kill list. Not even a confrontation list. Just facts. Chronology. Evidence. She didn't know yet that I knew. I had no intention of blowing up our lives in a burst of rage. Ava deserved more than that. So I made an appointment with a lawyer. "Gather everything," the attorney said. "Don't talk. Don't tip your hand. The more neutral you are, the more control you keep." Control. That became my mantra. I returned to every conversation we'd had in the past few months, replaying it in my head like audio on loop. Her pauses. Her invented details. Her overcorrections. It all made sense now. Every bit of love I once poured into our marriage was being converted into strategy. I wasn't collapsing. I was restructuring. My attorney's office was on the 14th floor of a high-rise just off Michigan Avenue. It smelled like leather, printer ink, and polished wood, orderly, impersonal. A place built for clean separation. Her name was Dana Morelli. Straightforward. Efficient. The kind of woman who didn't blink at infidelity. When I finished laying out the basics, no wild theatrics, just names, dates, screenshots, she leaned back and said, "You've already done more legwork than most people do after 6 months of litigation." I nodded. I'm not trying to destroy her. I'm trying to protect my daughter. Good, she said. Let's start with that. We began assembling a custody proposal, shared legal, but Ava would reside with me. The argument was simple: I had stability. I had the house. I had the proof. Dana flipped through each printed message like a surgeon preparing for surgery. This kind of quiet planning. Judges like it. Shows control. Control. That word again. I went home that night and installed a second lock on my home office drawer. Ava was watching cartoons in the living room, laughing without understanding the gravity hanging between rooms. I watched her out of the corner of my eye while organizing files into categories. Financial discrepancies. Communication logs. Inconsistencies in parenting schedules. Location data. I bought a second external hard drive and encrypted it. Stored it inside a hollowed-out hardcover of The Art of War on my bookshelf. It felt poetic. That weekend, Emily said she had a spa day planned with Claire. I nodded. You deserve it. She smiled, kissed Ava on the forehead, and left. She didn't know I'd placed a $39 GPS tracker beneath the back bumper of her car. When I checked the app later, she hadn't gone near a spa. She'd parked at the Shoreline Inn again. Room 217. Same as last time. I didn't confront her. I saved the screenshot. I reached out to Derek, my best friend from college, now a family therapist in the suburbs. He was the one person I trusted to be both clinical and honest. Over a beer at a quiet dive bar, I handed him the folder. He sifted through it silently. When he finished, he exhaled. You've been sitting on this for how long? About a month. And she has no idea. I shook my head. She thinks she's managing 2 separate lives. One in bass lines. One in bedtimes. He looked impressed. Most guys lose it. You're building a legal missile. I smiled, but there was no joy in it. Because rage doesn't help Ava sleep at night. He paused, then pulled out a business card. If you want a second opinion or someone neutral to talk to, this therapist is good. For you, or eventually for Ava. I took it. Not for now. But maybe later. Back home, I began reorganizing Ava's schedule. Preschool pickups, music class, swim lessons. I reached out to Emily's mother under the pretense of a surprise visit for Ava, just to gauge what she knew. Her voice wavered slightly. Emily's been distant. We try not to pry. So they knew something. But not everything. I asked my cousin Paul, an IT security consultant, for advice. Keep everything offline, he warned. Use a burner phone if you communicate with your lawyer. Don't trust shared devices. He handed me an old flip phone and loaded it with prepaid minutes. Think of this as a firewall for your emotions. I smiled. Paul always made paranoia sound noble. The more I did, the less I thought about Emily's betrayal. She became less of a person and more of a variable, a wild card in a spreadsheet. I didn't hate her. I didn't love her. I just accounted for her. Each night, after Ava fell asleep, I sat in the office and typed up short summaries of everything I'd observed that day. Phone calls. Mood changes. Contradictions. I dated each entry, stored it securely. I even made a backup copy to keep in a safety deposit box under my name only. I wasn't just preparing for court. I was building a record. Proof that I had done everything right. That Ava had been my priority from the start. That I had not retaliated, only responded. 2 weeks before filing, I scheduled a formal consultation with a custody mediator. It was optional, Dana had said. But judges like to see that you tried. Emily didn't question it when I mentioned it. If that's what you think we need, she said with a shrug. I mean, I'm sure we'll keep things civil. Civil. I nodded. That's the goal. On paper, it all looked airtight. But even airtight plans leak if you're not careful. So I triple-checked everything. The messages. The photos. The metadata on each file. Times. Locations. Corresponding receipts. Even the Lyft ride IDs matched up. I had built a case. And in the middle of that storm, Ava remained my constant. We went on long walks by the lake. Fed ducks. Ate ice cream at 9 a.m. because she asked politely. She didn't know what I was building behind the scenes. She didn't need to. One night, I tucked her in and found her whispering to the old stuffed bear I'd won at Navy Pier. "You're the only one who listens," she told it. I paused in the doorway, something breaking quietly in my chest. That's when I realized, this wasn't just about justice or betrayal. It was about ensuring that no matter how loud the music got in Emily's new life, Ava would never be drowned out. I looked at the hollowed-out book on the shelf. My war journal. I was ready. The confrontation didn't happen in some screaming match or shattering of plates. It happened on a Tuesday, at 6:15 p.m., in our living room, between leftover spaghetti and Ava's bath time. Emily came in through the front door, keys jingling, smiling like everything was fine. "Hey," she said casually, shrugging off her coat. "Claire says hi." I nodded. "Did you stop by the Verge after?" Her hand paused midair, still holding the coat. Just for a second. Barely perceptible. "What?" I stood, walked to the coffee table, and picked up the manila envelope I'd placed there hours before. "You said you were with Claire," I repeated. "You weren't." She stared at the envelope. "What is this?" "Documentation," I said. GPS logs. Screenshots. Hotel receipts. Messages from your playlist friend. Her eyes narrowed. "You went through my stuff." "I protected our daughter," I said calmly. "While you were spinning under lights, I was making sure her life doesn't unravel with yours." She opened the envelope. Her fingers trembled as she flipped through the contents. Page after page of her double life laid out like track listings. "Are you spying on me now?" I didn't rise to the bait. "No. I'm preparing. For custody. For division of assets. For Ava's sake." Emily sank into the couch, eyes darting across each page. She looked smaller somehow. Not cornered, just reduced. Like a mask melting off in daylight. "You planned all this?" "Every detail," I said. "I wanted to be sure. I didn't want to accuse you over one bad night. But this isn't one night." She looked up. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It just kept happening," I cut in. "You meant for it to continue. You chose it again and again." Silence stretched between us like a pulled wire. I walked over to the shelf and picked up the framed photo of our wedding. I didn't smash it. I didn't throw it. I just turned it face down and set it gently back in place. "This is how we end," I said. Quietly. With facts, not fireworks. Emily pressed a hand to her mouth. For a second, I thought she might cry. But instead, she said, "So what now?" "I'll file the paperwork in the morning," I said. "Dana already has the draft. You'll get your copy by the end of the week." "And Ava?" I met her eyes. "She stays here. You'll see her, of course. We'll agree on that through mediation. But she's not getting pulled into your mess." Emily looked like she wanted to argue, but she didn't. She just stared down at the stack of evidence she could no longer deny. I handed her a printed copy of the proposed custody schedule. Clean. Neutral. Fair. She took it wordlessly. "You always hated silence," I said. "But it's where I found my answers." At the doorway, she hesitated. "You know I loved you once, right?" "I know," I said. "And that's what makes this worse." Then I walked to the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water. No shaking hands. No raised voice. Just the steady quiet of a man who already did the grieving. She left without slamming the door. I looked at the turned-down photo frame, its silver edges catching the last light through the blinds. The music was off. And so was she. The paperwork finalized 2 weeks later. It came in a heavy envelope marked, "Final Judgment," tucked into our mailbox between a grocery store flyer and a reminder about Ava's dental appointment. Inside were the signatures, stamped and dated: dissolution of marriage, custody agreement, financial disclosures, and visitation schedule. Clean. Binding. Irrevocable. Emily didn't contest any of it. Dana said she barely blinked when the settlement terms were read aloud. Maybe she was tired of the lie. Or maybe she realized how thorough I'd been. There was nothing left to argue over. Ava stayed with me full-time. Our home became quieter. Tidier. But not emptier. The clutter had never been the stuff, it was the tension, the sidelong glances, the half-truths muttered from a bathroom doorway. That was gone now. I restructured our routine. Pancakes on Sunday. Grocery runs with a shopping list Ava helped write with crayon. We planted flowers in the window box, lavender and pansies, and Ava named each one after a Disney character. One afternoon, I opened the drawer where I'd kept the flash drives, the printed screenshots, the evidence stack. I stared at it for a long time, then quietly shredded the printouts. The flash drive I smashed with a hammer in the alley. Not out of anger. Just closure. The last to go was the burner phone. I dropped it into the electronics recycling bin outside the hardware store. No drama. Just a small, final silence. In the weeks that followed, friends reached out, some cautiously, others with open arms. Derek checked in weekly, usually with a six-pack and no questions unless I offered. We watched Bulls games in comfortable silence, punctuated only by the occasional, "Damn, that was clean." I started jogging again. At first just short runs around Humboldt Park. Then longer ones by the lake. Breathing through the cold air, I felt something begin to unknot inside my chest. One day after school, Ava told me her music teacher was showing them how to mix beats on an iPad. Like a real DJ. I asked. She grinned. No. Cooler. I laughed harder than I had in weeks. The wedding photo frame stayed turned down for a while. But eventually, I took it off the shelf altogether and replaced it with a picture Ava drew, stick figures of us holding hands under a purple sun. I framed it in the same silver casing. It belonged there more. On Ava's 8th birthday, I made a decision. I created a small website called Quiet Fathers. Nothing flashy. Just a blog space with simple entries about navigating betrayal, custody, healing. I posted under a pseudonym. No names, no revenge stories. Just calm reflections and honest tactics, what worked, what didn't, how to hold your ground without burning everything down. A few weeks later, a man from Oregon emailed me through the contact form. His wife had walked out 3 months earlier. He didn't know where to start. I sent him a checklist and a message that ended with, "You don't need to scream to be heard. You just need to move forward, one step at a time." The responses came slowly. Then steadily. Each one reminded me, I hadn't just survived. I'd rebuilt. And in the middle of it all, Ava thrived. She danced in the kitchen to music from the same speakers Emily once used. But now it was Taylor Swift and Moana instead of bass drops and club remixes. Her laughter filled the apartment the way subwoofers never could. Every beat, every moment, now belonged to us. And for the first time in a long while, I felt rhythm, not static.